This is Middle East Brief with Avi Kaner, your daily intelligence update on what actually matters.
Marks the anniversary of one of the most consequential events in modern Jewish history, the Six-Day War. Most people remember the military victory, the defeat of three armies, the reunification of Jerusalem, the capture of the Western Wall. But for many Jewish families, the story was far more personal. It was a homecoming. To understand why, we need to go back to 1948. Before Israel's independence, the Jewish quarter of Jerusalem's Old City had been home to Jews for centuries. Families had lived there continuously for generations. By 1948, the Jewish quarter was a vibrant community of synagogues, schools, homes, and religious institutions. Then came the War of Independence. Jordan's Arab Legion laid siege to the Jewish quarter. The defenders were outnumbered and outgunned. After weeks of fighting, the Jewish quarter fell. The Jewish residents were expelled. The entire Jewish population of the Old City was driven out. For the first time in centuries, no Jews at all remained in the Jewish quarter. Today, you would call it what it was, ethnic cleansing. Not because the victims were Jewish, but because an entire population was removed from an area solely because of its ethnicity and religion. The consequences were devastating. 58 synagogues were desecrated or destroyed. Ancient yeshiva schools were demolished. Jewish homes were looted and confiscated. Tombstones from the ancient Jewish cemetery on the Mount of Olives were used for roads, military installations, and construction projects. For 19 years, from 1948 until 1967, Jews were barred from the Jewish quarter. Jews were barred from the Western Wall. Jews were barred from many of Judaism's holiest sites. This was despite explicit commitments in the 1949 Armistice Agreements guaranteeing access to holy places. Those commitments were never honored. And remarkably, during those 19 years, the international community showed no interest in the fact that Judaism's holiest accessible site was completely off limits to Jews. Then came June of 1967. In just 6 days, Israel defeated three armies. Israeli paratroopers entered the Old City. The iconic words echoed over military radio. The Temple Mount is in our hands. For the first time in 19 years, Jews could once again walk to the Western Wall. Many wept, many prayed, and many simply stood in silence. But beyond the famous images was another story. Families returned to neighborhoods from which they had been expelled. People walked streets where their parents and grandparents had lived. The return to the Jewish quarter was not the arrival of a foreign population. It was a return of a displaced one. Over the following years, the Jewish quarter was painstakingly rebuilt. Historic synagogues such as the Hurva Synagogue were restored. Archaeological treasures were uncovered. Homes, schools, and religious institutions returned. What had been a devastated neighborhood became a thriving part of Jerusalem once again. And perhaps that is why the anniversary of the Six-Day War remains so emotionally powerful. For many Jews, it was not simply a military victory. It was the reversal of an injustice, the restoration of access to holy sites, the return to homes and neighborhoods from which Jews had been expelled. Today, there is an uncomfortable irony. The same Jewish quarter from which Jews were ethnically cleansed in 1948 is described by the international community as occupied Palestinian territory. That includes neighborhoods where Jews lived long before Jordan captured them. It includes synagogues that existed centuries before Palestinian nationalism emerged. It includes a Western Wall itself, the holiest site where Jews can pray. Reasonable people can disagree about borders, sovereignty, and the future of Jerusalem. But history matters, and the history is crystal clear. The Jewish quarter did not become Jewish in 1967. It became accessible to Jews again in 1967, and that distinction matters. The Six-Day War changed the Middle East. It transformed Israel's security position. It reshaped regional politics. But for many Jewish families, its most meaningful legacy was far simpler. After 19 years of exclusion, they were finally able to return home.
This is Middle East Brief with Avi Kaner. If you want clarity, not noise, follow and share. Continue the conversation on X at Avi Kaner. Back tomorrow.